All right, we are recording.
All right, all good?
We are all good.
Okay, all right. So, hi everybody. I'm Rebecca with Rebecca Nuttall Training, and I'm being joined by the lovely Miss Adila from Jigsaw Organizing Solutions. So this is our Q&A. We came up with some questions that we commonly get asked in our field, and we're hoping just by kind of going back and forth, we can give you a little bit more insight as to who we are and kind of answer some popular questions about our fields. So I will start. So Adila, who is your typical organizing client?
So I've sort of tried to track what my typical organizing clients are, but it's fairly varied. I find that there are a lot of seniors that are downsizing just because it's often the physical part is something that they don't want to do or can't physically do, or it's also just because they've accumulated so many things after living in the same house for like 30 or 40 years,
Right.
That they need help going through it. I also find that young moms are a really popular client just because there's not enough time in the day to do everything. And so their house usually gets very chaotic. And so we often make organizing solutions for that their kids can either help with or that they can just help them raise their kids better. But I find those are kind of the top two organizing clients, but I've had also small business owners. I've had just retired individuals that are just looking to tidy up their space a bit. So it's pretty varied, but I find those are the top two for sure.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
All right. So the first question for you is, what is the best thing to eat before and after a workout? Like, does it change if you're trying to lose fat or gain muscle? Just because I find that I've been like, I feel like we're always told, carb up beforehand and then eat protein after. And is that a myth? Is that actually accurate?
So there is some truth in it. So the reason why you're told to kind of carb up before a workout is because carbs provide energy, and you're going to want to use that energy. Your body uses it when you're exerting yourself, when you're lifting heavy. It's using the source of carbs in your body to help you push. So if you are going to eat, that's why eat before a workout. That's typically why it's recommended that you eat carbs. However, it can vary from person to person. Some people don't like to eat before a workout, so they get rid of the carbs that are already in their body. Some people feel really nauseous if they don't eat before they work out, so they definitely want to eat some carbs. It just varies person to person. As to what you should eat after a workout, it's recommended that you eat kind of a 2-to-1 split between carbs and protein. So you're going to want to say 40 grams of carbs, 20 grams of protein, just to again replenish what your body has used, and protein to help repair your muscles. But again, while that's recommended, I would definitely recommend eating after your workout. If before, just depending on who you are. Again, if you're feeling nauseous when you're working out, definitely eat before. You always want movement to feel good. And if you're struggling to, really push yourself and move because you're feeling so nauseous that you're going to faint or throw up, that's not a good time.
No one wants that.
Yeah, no one wants that. And then in terms of, does it change whether you're trying to lose fat, gain muscle, et cetera, et cetera? Again, that really depends on the person and your overall calories kind of for the day. Typically, I am of the camp that in order to lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit. In order to gain weight, you need to be eating more calories than you're burning. So whether you want to consume those calories right after your workout and do kind of a bigger meal, or if your goal is to lose fat, you want to make that meal a little bit smaller after you eat. That's kind of all semantics, and it can be tweaked and adjusted based on your goals. But ultimately, you're probably going to want to keep that 2-to-1 carb protein split just to help, again, repair your muscles and give you energy that you've lost.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. So what tips can you provide to keep me organized after, say, we've worked together, you've come into my home, helped me organize. I can give you like 500 spaces in my house right now that need it. So you've come in, we've organized. What tips can you provide to help me stay organized?
So when I'm working with my clients, I will give them tips throughout the sessions, because I don't want our sessions to be something that I just go into their home, organize it, leave, and then they have no idea where I put things or what we did. Like, I want it to be sort of a learning process for my clients, and so where we're working together and coming up with solutions that work best for them. So generally, if I'm working with someone, I will give them tips during the session. But as a general rule, I find for maintaining your space, the most important thing is to make sure that you're putting stuff back in the correct, or in its home, after you've finished with it. And often it requires the little extra effort, because, sometimes you're just like, oh, like, I don't want to walk all the way to the other room, and then you just kind of throw it on the floor. So really getting out of that habit and making sure that you put things away after you're finished using them, that is like the number one thing that really helps you maintain your space. But also getting all the people in your home on board is really important, because if you're doing everything really diligently and they're not, then that's just going to destroy any organizational system. Yeah. And so I think it's when you're creating systems to put things away, making it as easy as possible to put those things away is very crucial. Like, you don't want to have to pull out 3 things in order to put one thing away. You want to make the least amount of touches possible. So having that as part of your organizing system in general is really crucial to keeping it maintained.
That's really smart.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it. It sort of varies by situation. Like, if I had a specific example, I might be able to give more specific tips, but as a general rule, just putting stuff away, which seems obvious, but it's just very important and often skipped.
I was gonna say, I believe that's probably the hardest part for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally believe that.
Okay, so next question for you is, what is, sort of on the same lines as the question you asked me, what is the best way to motivate yourself to be active?
This is a hard one, and it absolutely varies from person to person. But one of the biggest things I can suggest is, when I work with a client, we usually take a sit down and think about their why. So whether it's their goal is losing fat, gaining muscle, they just want to live, a healthier lifestyle, to work on their heart health, or, make sure they have strong bones for the future. Whatever it is, we take a sit and we talk it through. Sometimes they want to share with me, sometimes they don't. That's completely fine. But as long as they're thinking about why they want to make this lifestyle change. I always refer to fitness and nutrition as life work, because it's never about fast fixes. It's always about, this is going to be a change for your whole life. And so when we're talking about motivation, it's always a marathon. It's never a sprint. It's always going to be, this is going to be for a long-term change. So what's the best way to motivate yourself to do that? So when people usually have that kind of in the back of their mind, automatically it's already easier to make yourself get up off the couch of, I want to be there for my kids. I want to be there for my grandkids, and I want to have energy to run and play with them. So, is it going to serve me in 20 years if I'm just sitting on the couch doing nothing? Or is it going to serve me if I get up and go for a walk, or even, spend some time with them right now, go for a walk outside? And then the second thing I can really say to help motivate you is to try to make it a routine. I've definitely had days where I look at my clock and I go, oh, I have to work out today. And it's not a positive thing. I know a lot of people say, oh, make it a positive thing. I get to work out today. I'm able to work out today. And sometimes that really works. I'm not saying it doesn't. There's definitely power in positivity. But there's just some days where that's not going to happen. And it's I have to work out today and I'm not excited about it. However, that being said, I have to work out today. I'm in it for the long haul. So I get my shoes on, I come downstairs and I start doing a routine. It could be something that I've done a million times. It could be, I start with just some light stretches and pick up some weights and go from there, just doing easy moves, whatever I'm kind of feeling like that day. And sometimes it'll turn into a really intense, awesome workout. Sometimes it won't. But the point is, I'm down there. It's routine. You follow it as closely as possible. And by just doing it over and over and over again, soon it'll be habit and you won't even need to think about it. So it's not easy. And just, you know, trying to focus on your why, trying to show up for yourself and know that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Everybody struggles with it. Everybody has their good days and their bad days, but you're only hurting yourself by not showing up for you. So, and if there's anything I can always do to help motivate people, I always don't mind giving a text and saying, hey, have you gotten your workout in today? How's it going? Like, I love doing that stuff. So I absolutely, that's also one of the things that working with a trainer helps, because you have that person to be accountable to.
That's very true.
Which I know also works in your line of work. It's nice to have somebody to be accountable to.
Yeah, for sure.
And be your cheerleader.
Yeah. And we all need cheerleaders.
Exactly. Okay, so I would love to know, what made you get into professional organizing? I know it's, you know, maybe not the first thing, you know, kids learn when they like go through of like, I want to be a doctor, like a firefighter. Like, professional organizer is not like on that list. So how did you get into it?
I wish it had been listed on one of those lists.
Be on that list.
Should be. Maybe it is nowadays, but it wasn't when I was in high school. Like when we did that careers course where you like
oh my gosh,
what you were good at.
All the things. Yeah.
I don't remember what it told me I was supposed to do, but it definitely wasn't a professional organizer. So anyway, they need to update that if they haven't already.
Why? But vending.
Sorry?
What I feel like vending machine technician was on there for some reason.
It definitely was.
Okay,
but
sorry,
yeah.
I'm off that. Okay.
But yeah, I've always been very organized. Like I was that kid that would like, my room was always really clean. And my brother and I used to share a room as kids, and his side would be really messy and my side would be clean type thing. And then I would go to my friend's house as a teenager, you know, like 14, 15 years old. And like, I would just be so like, ugh, I don't want to hang out in this gross room. And I would just clean it for them and tidy it up. So my friends' parents always loved having me over.
Yeah, I can see why.
Yeah. But yeah, so I always just really enjoyed it. I would like color code my agendas in high school. Like it was always something that was really ingrained in me for whatever reason. I was just born that way, I guess. And obviously I had no idea that it was a career. But I watched the show on TLC back in the early 2000s called Clean Sweep. And it was about a professional organizer and other people that would come into a person's home and just transform it, like a sort of typical TLC show. Nice. So I remember watching that show and really loving it. And I still didn't make the connection like, oh, I could do that as a career. So I ended up going to university, got my English degree, then had an existential crisis after graduating because I was like, what the heck am I doing with my life? Mm-hmm. And then so my husband and I, like we were just dating at the time, but we were packing up to move to a new house. And I was like, I like this. I like packing and like, you know, fitting stuff into boxes like Tetris. And I was like, maybe I should work for a moving company. And then I don't know what I typed into the Google search bar, but I just started Googling things and I was writing out things that I was good at. And somehow, by the grace of the universe, I stumbled across this woman's website. I'm pretty sure she was based in Cambridge. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if she still is, but at the time she was a professional organizer and she was a member of POC, which is Professional Organizers in Canada. And I was like, what? Oh my God. And so I like went to the POC site and was just like absorbing all of the info. And then I joined them and I started taking their courses. And so it almost happened by fluke. Like this woman's website is what got me into the profession, and she doesn't even know. I don't even know her name. Like I wish I could thank her. It's like this weird situation. But yeah, so, and I find a lot of POs are that way where we just sort of stumble across it and we're like, oh, this is a career. Cool. Yeah. And it's scary and exciting because you have to start your own business to do it generally, because most organizers work by themselves and they don't hire employees. So you have to kind of venture off on this thing by yourself and figure out how to run a business. And it's very exciting, but it was also very scary at the beginning. But yeah.
Well, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah, well, thank you. Okay, next question for you. how do I protect my knees during a workout? Because I've seen people with wearing those knee wraps when they're doing workouts. Like, are they something that people should generally be using? Is that sort of for people who have knee injuries? Because it seems like knees take a lot of a brunt of a workout, especially for squats and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So they're not something that everybody should be wearing. And basically what they do is they offer a little bit of extra support. However, what I can suggest to people, you don't have to go out and buy one. I personally have knee issues. I wear mine occasionally. But the biggest piece of advice I can give you is make sure you're doing exercises with proper form. And there are always modifications to, if you feel like an exercise is too hard on your knees, there's always additional, other exercises you can do or modifications to help you not put so much stress and strain on your knees. Sometimes it's just as simple as, the muscles surrounding our knees are weak, and we need to build up those muscles with extra movements to help them grow, to then get to the stronger workout or movements like squats or lunges. But other times it's a matter of, we're just lifting too heavy, and to back off the weight. There's nothing wrong with doing a lighter weight with more repetitions. Sometimes that's a little bit easier. And sometimes it's just a matter of squats are not for me at this moment in time. I need to do something else. I need to do something like glute bridges, or I need to do something like wall sits, or maybe not a full squat, and I'll sit in a chair and stand up and practice that and get my knees and my legs stronger before I can go on to those more advanced moves. So every person is different. Every person, if you feel like you need a knee wrap, absolutely go get one. You can get one at Walmart, but I don't think knee wraps it's like a Band-Aid to the problem.
Right.
It'll help give you a little bit of stability, but at the same time, if you feel like your knees are really, really sore after workout, I would want you to look at kind of dig deeper as to see why. Are you lifting too heavy? Are your knee muscles weak? Are you not executing the move with proper form? I think there are other solutions you can look at before you have to go purchase knee wrap. But always listen, go talk to your doctor also first and foremost. What they have to say. Don't take my word for it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm only listening to you, Becca.
Exactly. No, please don't. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not licensed to give any medical information. But yeah, definitely always be researching, make sure your form is looking good. Do a movement in front of a mirror. If you don't have a mirror near you, try to record yourself doing a movement and look back at it and see, am I doing this movement right? Is there something I can be fixing?
Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So as I mentioned, with my 500 spaces in my house that need to be organized, should I feel bad about my mess? Because I feel like I totally would. Having a professional organizer come into my house and be like, please excuse all my mess. It's horrific. I would feel so bad. And on top of me feeling bad about my mess, do you see patterns of, how spaces get so messy, or do you see patterns of, what spaces are more messy than others? Is everyone's garage just a disaster, or is it just mine?
Definitely not. And to answer the first part of the question, no, you should not feel bad about your mess. I'm going to give that as a public service announcement to just everyone. Do not feel bad about your mess. I'm
probably still going to feel bad.
Probably. Actually, I find I come across that a lot in this industry, is this shame that people have about their space if it's not to the perfect standard that they believe it should be. And I find that really sad, just because, I don't know, there's just so many more important things to worry about. And it's just unfortunate that people focus so much on how their space looks. But I find that a lot of clients, when I'm doing my initial assessment with them, they almost feel like they should clean up their space before I look at it. Mm-hmm. Because, that's the general thing. If someone's coming over their house, they want to make sure it looks nice.
Absolutely.
But for me, I want it to look as it does normally. I want to see it in its like almost in its worst state so that I can really see and be able to pinpoint where these issues are. Like I don't want people to sugarcoat it. I want to see your clutter. I love clutter. It's my favorite thing. As psychotic as that sounds. But yeah, so I want to see people's spaces in their messiest, because that's how we can see those patterns like you were talking about. So I find that there's definitely patterns that I've seen. A lot of it has to do with what I was discussing earlier about breaking those habits of just dropping things rather than putting them back to their home, and having other family members be able to actually put things away and help you in your organizational process. Mm-hmm. But spaces like garages and basements and attics and sometimes closets, like I find the rooms that don't really get used, they sort of become a dumping ground. And a thing that I've seen in a lot of clients' homes is if someone's coming over to visit them, they'll be like, oh, I have all this clutter on my counter. I'm just going to throw it in this box and then put this box in another room somewhere. Yeah. But then that box just sits there. It doesn't ever go away. It doesn't ever get put away. It just sits there until the next time someone comes over, and then a new box joins that one. And it sort of accumulates in that way. So that's something I've
called out right now.
I feel seen.
Yeah. I feel very heard right now.
So that definitely happens a lot. And it's one of those habits that has to be broken. You know, like if you have stuff that's accumulated on your countertops, and it could be, you know, a variety of things. It could be a bunch of pens. It could be like electronics. It could be a book or whatever. Having a proper home for everything is a really important step. You know, you want to, if you have a bookshelf, maybe that book is one that you're currently reading, but if you want to put it away when you have guests coming over, putting it on that bookshelf, at least so it's, you know, a relevant location where you'll know to look for it next time. Putting pens away into a pen cup or a drawer that actually has pens and not just your Tupperware drawer or something. But yeah, instead of putting it all in a box and throwing it in the garage, taking that extra time, even if it's just a couple minutes, to put those things away. Or if you can, just taking 15 minutes at the end of the day, just to look around your most used spaces and see if there's anything that you can quickly put away. I try to get in the habit of whenever I'm leaving a room and I'm not planning on going into it for the rest of the day, I'll just take a look around, see if there's anything that can be put away or thrown out or whatever. Like just kind of getting in those habits of sort of checking your space, kind of like you make sure your door is locked before you leave the house, or locking your car before you leave it in a parking lot. Just kind of putting those boundaries and what's the word? Habits. Thank you. My brain finally clicked in. Thank you, brain. But yeah, putting those habits into place is something that takes work. But even if you had like a reminder set on your phone, you know, if you go to bed at 10 p.m., putting a reminder in your phone at 9:45 to go check your spaces and see if there's anything that can be put away, can be very helpful. Yeah, and I think other patterns too is, yeah, I think it mostly ties into stuff not having a proper home and then just not getting in the habit of putting it away. I think most things can be boiled down to those two, which is interesting.
And
yeah.
You know what? I really like what you said about taking like 15 minutes and setting a timer, because oftentimes I'm honestly, like, I surprise myself sometimes. It's the end of the night. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. And there's clutter around my space. And I'm like, I don't want to deal with it because I'm tired and I want to go to bed. But when I, you know, look at the time and it's 9:45.
Yeah.
And I go through and I put all the clutter away and I deal with stuff and I do a load of dishes and it's only like 9:55. I'm like, wow, that took me 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It'd probably take me less time if I really like boogied with it. But half the time I'm like petting my cats and like distracted by something. Mm-hmm. So if I really pushed it, it would probably take me 15 minutes to clean up. But it always shocks me how minimal the time effort in order to make things look so much better. Even in the spaces that I spend most of my time, like my living room or my kitchen.
Yeah.
To put a timer on and say, I'm going to take 10 minutes, and it might not even be perfect at the end of the 10 minutes, but it's going to look a heck of a lot better than me just going to bed and dealing with it the next day.
Yeah. And I mean,
like that.
And I mean, it doesn't just have to be you putting stuff away. Like you can be listening to a podcast or music or something while you do it. Like you can kind of make it fun for yourself too. And maybe that can be part of the motivation behind doing it. It doesn't just have to be like, I have to do the dishes now. Like you can make it kind of fun too. And that might help with the motivation factor.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. So I was like, what am I doing now? Okay. So the next question is, what are some good workouts for love handles or muffin tops, or whatever the colloquial terms for those lovely things are?
Okay. So I have thoughts on this topic, and you could trace it to like any part of the body. So I have the same thoughts for like bat wings, like this like flag arm, for like the cottage cheese thighs, for the like muffin top, like all of it. Okay. So to answer your question, workouts for love handles, there is not going to be a workout where if you just do it religiously, it will just get rid of them.
Yeah, they'll just evaporate.
They'll just evaporate. It will not happen. It's a combination of calorie deficit. It's a combination of, working the muscles, getting them stronger. It's a combination of a lot of things. However, where I am personally at with love handles and bat wings and cottage cheese, whatever we're talking about, I really want to talk about in my platform and just make people, and it's a conversation that I still have to have with myself constantly, is that it is not terrible to have these things. And I think it's just drilled into us day in and day out that there is a proper way to look for a human being by society. And there's this acceptable standard by society that we have to look that way. And that acceptable standard is to not have cellulite or, any jiggle on us whatsoever, or love handles or anything. And that is just like, it's never going to happen. We're not ever all going to look the same. There's so many good quotes that say, if everybody ate the same diet and did the same exercise routine, we would all look different. And that's completely true. So if you're looking to reduce your love handles, I can help you with that. We can work with that, but it's a conversation that I always want to have with my clients of, you don't need to do this because society was telling you to, or you don't need to do this because your partner doesn't find you attractive. Like, that's society and your partner's issue. Look to you, and why do you want to do it? If it's, I want to lose weight because I want to have more energy. That to me is a lifelong, goal, a goal worthy of life work, because I want to lose, 10 pounds to help my heart health and be around for my family. That to me is going to be a lot more worthy of your time and energy, and it's going to help keep you motivated, as opposed to, I want to just get skinny. Mm-hmm. It's a goal for sure, but I feel like where people have issues and where people give up on their goals is because, it's hard to really dig in and push through the tired and push through the pain and push through, calorie deficits, which you need to get rid of those kinds of things, when they don't have a goal that, they can really sink into and hold on to and go, it's going to be so worth it. I'm also, again, I will go off on a tangent, so I'll try to cut it, but I'm also a big proponent of you shouldn't be cutting your calories for long periods of time. I'm a huge proponent of you should only do it in short spurts, and by short spurts, I think I mean 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the person, depending on who you are. But then you want to raise your calories back up again into maintenance calories, and these are kind of your everyday life calories. because it's not good for your body to have less calories than it needs for an extended period of time. By that point, you're going to start doing damage to your metabolism. It's not going to be good. Yeah. So short answer to good workouts for love, or for, you know, your love handles. You know, you can do your side planks, you can do oblique crunches. There's stuff that you can do, your curtsy lunges. Like, there are workouts you can do to help that area gain muscle. And if you're gonna, you know, put yourself into a calorie deficit, you'll start to lose extra cellulite and excess fat. But again, there's such a big picture and there's such a bigger story, and you're worth so much more than just losing your love handles. And that's what I want all my clients to know who work with me, is that it is a bigger picture. You are a bigger picture than just losing your love handles. So
love it.
Thank you. All right. So after my huge tangent, okay, so I feel like people get this confused a lot. So I want to know your take. What is the difference between a professional organizer and a cleaning service?
That does get confused a lot, especially right now with the government regulations.
Yeah.
Like, I have to look up what cleaners are allowed to do to figure out what I can do during the Ontario lockdowns, which is super frustrating, because it is very different. So for a cleaning service, it obviously depends on the client and everything, but typically they'll go into the person's home. Oftentimes the client isn't even there, or they'll be off doing their own thing, and the cleaner comes in and cleans. So they'll generally just do surface cleaning. Like, they'll do the sweeping, they'll clean the bathrooms, they will vacuum, dust, whatever, all those kind of the things that we all hate doing. I personally really hate dusting.
Here.
Yeah. But so professional organizer is quite different, although I often will do some cleaning while I'm working with my client, which is actually a question that I get asked a lot, is if I clean while I go. And I do, because I don't want to create more work for my client. Like, if we're going to, you know, let's say we're doing their pantry, we're going to pull out all the cans, we're going to see which ones are expired. We're going to see, you know, what foods they use for what purposes, and organize their pantry according to, you know, like, these are your breakfast foods, these are your dinner foods, these are your things that you never use, but you use around like once a year. Yeah. So kind of we organize the pantry that way. But before we put everything back, I'll make sure that those shelves are wiped down, because there's always little bits of things and like dust and all that, or like the rings that some of the jars will make. Like, there's always kind of gross stuff.
Stray pieces of macaroni where you're like, how did that even happen? Like,
I don't know.
Yeah. I've never bought macaroni. Why do I have it? Why?
It's Gremlins, I swear.
I swear, it just comes into my house.
Yeah. But yeah, so I will clean as I go. Just because I don't want to put everything away nicely and then have my client have to take everything out and wipe it again, or leave it for another, you know, year before they clean out the pantry again. But so for cleaners, they're not going to do those deep cleans. They're not going to take, generally, I think maybe some cleaners do this, but they're not going to take all the stuff out of your cupboards and like wipe all those grimy areas that collect. They're not going to move all the boxes in your garage and sweep underneath them. Like, there's so much more involved in a professional organizer. Like, we're going through your items together. We're seeing what items you actually enjoy, what ones you use, what ones are sentimental, all those sort of things. Like, we have full length discussions about your stuff. And I love hearing people's stories. Like, it's such a cool process to be able to connect with people and figure out what can work for their space and their items and other members of their household. A cleaner is just there to clean. You know, they just come in, clean your house, leave, get paid. And then it's very different. Yeah. But yeah, by government standards, I think we're the same thing. So that's nice. It's nice to be misunderstood.
But yeah, like, and from what I think it would be, again, everybody's needs are different, but I think it would be more worthwhile to, you know, to work with you is then to get, if there's a place that's constantly getting messy and cluttered, to work with you to get those systems in place. so then, you know, I know my friends who have used cleaners, like if there's a really cluttered space, they won't clean it because they're like, that's not my job. I'm here to like do a dust and wash the floors and vacuum. And like, I don't know, I'm sure it's different cleaning service to cleaning service, but you almost have to, you know, when we said, you know, do we have to clean for you to come over? You said, no, I want it to be messy. You almost do have to, I feel like, clean for a cleaning service. So then they can just get the, you know, I'm going to wipe it, I'm going to mop it, and I'm going to leave. Whereas you're like, no, get into the nitty gritty. And I think it's nice that you do some cleaning. I don't know about every professional.
Yeah, I don't think all of them do. Yeah. But I would just feel wrong.
Yeah, that's nice that you just, so it's not like, well, we've organized, but yeah, you're going to have those rings on your counter, like your cupboard house for the rest of your life. Like, that's nice.
I've had some clients, if they're like under the sink is really grimy and gross, they're like, I'm not going to make you clean that. I'm just going to go do that right now. So that's nice. But yeah, generally I'll take the broom out and start sweeping. Cause like, yeah, you don't want to put stuff back and have there be little bits of things. I think I would have nightmares that night if I did that. Like I would just imagine all the dust bunnies and the little pieces of macaroni like haunting my dreams.
Doing like a dance.
Yeah. Woo! Yeah. Oh, I don't want that. All right. So last question for you. For people who eat plant-based diets, is there like an effective way to follow a plant-based meat-free lifestyle in order to gain muscle? Because I feel like for people who are vegan, they're always being told, like, did you get enough protein? Like, I feel like that's just the thing. That's the thing on everyone's mind all the time. So is there like an effective way to consume and like utilize the protein from plant-based sources, or if it would be different than meat?
Heck yes. So, okay. Yeah, there is always this like stigma around eating plant-based that, you know, you're not getting enough protein. And, you know, that in and of itself is like a whole other argument to pack and unpack. But in the response to this question, if you're looking to gain muscle, generally you want to be consuming more calories than you're burning in order to gain muscle. And in gaining muscle in particular, not just weight, you're going to want to eat more protein to help your muscles grow. So that's why in terms of, you know, gaining muscle, everybody's always so like hyper focused on protein, is because that's what's going to help the muscles grow and get bigger in conjunction with, you know, lifting heavy and weight training. Ironically, just on a brief side tangent, weightlifting and strength training are two completely different things, because you'll see people who are generally strong and who can lift heavy things, you know, multiple times, as opposed to weightlifters who can usually do like one big lift and then they're done. So again, not to be confusing, you know, weightlifters with, you know, actually physically strong people, not that they're not strong, but like in life strong. Yeah. Again, so it depends on what your goals are in terms of, you know, do I want to just look big and bulky, or do I actually want to be strong? And that'll kind of come down to, again, different eating things and different exercise patterns, but that's neither here nor there. So if you're eating plant-based and you're trying to grow your muscles to gain, you know, get bigger, yes, you are going to want to eat more protein. But there are so many fantastic resources out there for you to get more protein. One of the most popular is definitely going to be having a protein shake, whether it be pea protein, you know, rice protein. There's endless options out there for different kinds. Where I also fully believe in is I love eating.
Me too.
Yeah, eating is great. And I would rather eat my protein and my food as opposed to just drink it. Yeah. However, if you're looking to grow your muscles, it's a lot of food to be able to get that level sometimes that people need. So that's where, adding protein powder or protein supplement into your diet will just help you give that boost. But 9 times out of 10, I would much prefer to eat my calories than to drink them. That is just more fun for me. And I think for a lot of people, right?
Yeah. Need something to chew on.
Yeah, exactly. As opposed to just drink it, knock it back, and not think about it again. And then I'm hungry like 2 seconds later.
Yeah.
So, and on top of eating more protein rich plant-based sources. So again, and there's infinite charts and, in like infograms about how much protein is in different plant-based sources and, what is the best bang for your buck. And you can also figure that out alternately if you're trying to lose weight and say, I'm trying to eat more protein and carbs and maybe less fat, because fat is very nutrient dense. You just need a little bit of it to get the same amount of calories, as opposed to, something like protein or carbs where you can eat more of it because it has less calories per serving.
Right.
So you can look to see, I need more protein to kind of even out my calories for the day. What's something that has some more protein in it, but maybe not a lot of carbs or fat? There's endless infographics and there's endless things that you can look at online, or, I'm happy to help people if that's what your goal is. But yeah, being plant-based, there's never been a better time, in my personal opinion, to be plant-based rather than now, because there's amazing sources out there. And I feel like it's just getting better.
Yeah.
The technology now in eating plant-based, some of the foods that I've had, chef's kiss. They are so good. You won't even miss meat, especially with meat being so expensive nowadays. And just all the information that's come out with, eating meat in relation to how hard it is on the environment. I think people are really starting to want to eat less meat and incorporate more vegetable, plant-based meals into their diet. So even for people that aren't exclusively plant-based, it's also really nice to know those different protein sources, just so they don't constantly be having to eat that chicken breast or that, whey protein every single day. Because while, yes, historically and statistically, chicken breast is a really great source of just protein, you're not really getting any fat or carbs in it, you're just getting the protein. It's expensive and it's hard on the environment. And it's, depending on who you talk to, it can be hard on our bodies as well. So some people just don't want to eat chicken breasts 7 days a week. They want to incorporate other options. And, you can look at tofu, you can look at tempeh, you can look at beans, you can look at legumes, you can look at seeds. There's just an endless supply of different kinds of protein that you can get from plants nowadays. And I highly recommend you check some of them out, as well as recipes, because eating plant-based does not need to be boring. It is fantastic. It is good times.
Agreed.
Yeah, I definitely recommend.
Yeah, like the amount of recipes that are online that have,
oh my gosh,
they're just amazing. And I find that some of the plant-based protein sources can be expensive, but you can stick to a pretty good budget if you're getting a lot of like lentils or chickpeas or like more legumes. And tofu is pretty inexpensive as well.
Yeah, and you can do so many things with the tofu. Like I've seen recipes for like tofu. Now again, this isn't maybe for the weight conscious, but like I've seen tofu pudding, I've seen tofu ice cream. I've seen some people make some bomb recipes that their creativity is just so over what I would even contemplate, and it's such delicious food. And I also find with plant-based, it opens you up to other cultures, because other cultures have the best plant-based food.
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh, Thai, Indian, Mexican, oh, so good.
Yeah. And if you're the type that prefers a cookbook, definitely see what your library has.
Yes.
Because they have probably every single cookbook ever made. And like, I know at the Waterloo Library here, there's so many vegetarian and vegan cookbooks. Like there's a whole section just for them. So there's lots of resources.
And what I really love doing is half the time, I'm not with the KPL, but I'm sure they do the same thing where you can get them as ebooks.
Yes.
And so then you can flip through on your phone. And then if there's a recipe I like, you can take a screenshot of it.
Right.
And I have a whole folder in my phone of like plant-based recipes. Sometimes you can get the macros for them. Sometimes you kind of gotta, you can either throw it into your phone to calculate, or if you're just going off portion sizes, you know, whatever you're doing, you can kind of figure it out from there. But it's a great, use your library. Libraries are such a great resource if you've Pinterested everything to death and you don't want to read another food blogger's experience about, I don't know, hiking in the Alps and all of a sudden this food recipe came to her in a dream. I don't know, whatever. Definitely, use your library because they are such a great resource of cookbooks. You don't even need to pick up the physical book. You can do it all while you're in scrolling.
It's brilliant. Technology is brilliant.
10 out of 10. Do recommend for sure.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that was all the questions that we had from people's submissions and what we came up with. So thanks for anyone who's viewing this. It was lovely doing this week. I hope you gained some tips about things, and we just both had fun, or at least I had fun. I'm sure.
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. I hope we do this again because it was a really good time.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.